when I talk, or do these things, I enjoy them, as you probably could tell. But if you think I'm nuts, or that's one thing. But if you think I'm wrong, let me know. Just send me a note, or whatever it is, or in the chat feature. Uh, and we're all wrong. We're all guessing and hoping and praying something works. Not only if you're an expert, but if you're an average person. And I see myself more as an average person than an expert. I may be an expert in finding government programs and alternative sources of money, but on what to do in life, man, I don't know. I mean, it's I don't even know what the hell to do with my own life. How could I really be, that good in telling somebody else to do with their life? We all have that individual responsibility. And I think what we can do is just share our ideas, with other people, and give other people input so to help them make their own ideas. I mean, that's what life is about, because we're all so different. And, we have to make these decisions ourselves. And what's good for one person isn't good for another. And we have these experts telling everybody what to do, and that's crazy. They don't know what the hell to do themselves. If they really did, they wouldn't be trying to make money out of selling you stuff that they think they know what to do. But let's go back. I don't know if you saw the item I did a few days, or yesterday, I guess, about this. And it was based on this. And I didn't realize, after I put this up yesterday, I said, gosh, I already did a talk on this. Most Americans can't handle $500 surprise bill. So we're not going to go into that. And actually, that's 63% of Americans don't have enough cash on hand to pay an extra $500 or even $1,000 bill. That comes up, like fixing a dishwasher or your car, or chipping a tooth and getting that fixed or whatever. So what I'm trying to do is really show people alternative sources of money, because what we know, particularly if we use Google and read the normal media, we all run around chasing the same sources of money and help. And there's just so much more out there, and that's what I try to do, is dig out the other things. But what I want to cover first, and actually the other things that you can't find on Google. That's a problem. Google may be helpful in organize all this stuff, but it's not helpful in finding the good stuff. And that's what you have to do, is train yourself to do that. But let's go back a little bit, about why people don't have enough money. I mean, I'm an old guy, so I grew up in the 50s and the 60s, and the whole economy, everything was going up. But now it's a different it's a different life, and we seem to be trying to solve new problems with old answers, that ain't gonna work now, is it? Because everything's so new in our life. But the bigger issues, I think, why people don't have money is what we're spending maybe too much money on. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is what I think one of our issues is healthcare. I mean, look at how much we spend on healthcare. We're way over on the end over here. I don't know if you could see this well enough, but this is every developed country in the world. How much they spend on healthcare, and we have like $9,000 per person. We're spending $9,000 per person. So that means everybody spending $9,000 per person. The average in the developed countries, and that's in the middle here, they spend about $4,000 or $4,500. So they're spending, the average developed country, people like us that are living, actually, some of them even have more income than we do, that are spending half of what we spend on healthcare. Wow. And they're getting better results. People are living longer. They're not dying as fast, and all kinds of health things, like that. So I mean, that's, to me, what I want our elected officials to say is not to find a better health care, true, but to first answer the question, why the hell does it cost twice as much if people figured out all over the world how to spend half as much on health care as we have? But I guess we're too arrogant. We think we know better than anybody else in the world, But we're all immigrants, so we came from all over the world. So these other people can't be too dumb. But you see that graph good enough. So we're way back we're on the end over here, spending twice as much as anybody. on the health care. And that's crazy. And then what we spend our money on is even nuts. I mean, look at it. I mean, I don't know. You have to now. We're going to build a wall somewhere, because we're trying to, not let anybody come into the country because we're worried of terrorists. Well, here's how people are dying in this country, okay? Actually, the latest year they have for data that I found on Americans dying because of terrorists, 18, okay? Versus diabetes, almost 70,000. And that's 18. Yes, last year was like 7. The year before that was 0. I mean, if you put the last 15 years, it's probably 4 or 5 a year, But how about we're going to spend almost $30 billion on a wall for that, where we have 70,000 people dying of diabetes. So why the hell are we so worried about one thing and not the other? It seems that we should have programs doing that, put that money into that. And it's just crazy. It's so easy to get tied up. And what could be more important than healthcare in our country? Yeah, I mean, if you don't have good health care, you cannot contribute. You can't do anything. I mean, even with Obamacare, I mean, there's a lot of problems with that. But I think the main thing is if it costs twice as much in this country, no matter what, if you have Obamacare, Trump care, I don't care what it is. I just think it's dumb that we pay twice as much as any country. And we should take that apart more. And understand what's going on there. I mean, they're not that much smarter than we are we? But just think, I mean, if an average person, I work with some immigrant families now that are here making maybe $30,000 a year. They have to pay $5,000 on health care a year. That's even in Obamacare. Wow. That's nuts. So it's crazy, I think. So that's kind of issues. I mean, this fear about terrorists, sure, we got to worry about it, but is that more worry than diabetes? Is that more worry than you not having enough to live right so you don't die of an early death, whatever, and get the health care you need? I mean, that seems to be one of the things that they cause people dying earlier is that they don't have access to health care. I mean, even before Obamacare, because I help people get information about what to do and where to find help, and people call me, I mean, that couldn't get health care and put off a problem they had. They were feeling inside, but they couldn't afford to go, the co-payment or whatever. And actually, this one person died even. I mean, gosh, I mean, it's just heartbreaking to hear stories like that. So that's one thing. So healthcare we have an issue with. Okay, another issue I think that we have. See, now I think like roads in our country, roads are important, right? If we didn't have roads, we could, do commerce and all this kind of stuff. So if we don't have health care, we couldn't contribute a lot. We could do all the other things that are needed to do in our society to make it better. So it seems like as a community, we should worry about that more. And not just worry about the drug companies. It's the people getting the health care. Okay, now the other thing is education. Now, what could be more important than education in this country? And particularly higher education. But there again, we spend more on higher education than any other developed country in the world. Look at that. So this is the percentage of income it takes to get a college degree. So look at us on the bottom there, 52%. Now we're up there with Japan, or down there with Japan, whatever, Australia. But look at the Europeans, Denmark, 2%, Norway, 2%, 3% for Sweden, France, Germany, Finland, Netherlands. Guys, so they're spending a fraction. So we're going into hot $40,000, $50,000, $100,000 a year to go to school. And if you live, which we need, right, to contribute more to the society and everybody else and be smarter and for us to grow as a country, and we charge the most ever. And to me, it's another Ponzi scheme. I mean, now with the amount of student debt that's out there, I mean, that's now more than credit card debt, I think. And that's a bubble starting to burst. And who's making all the money? Number one, it's the colleges, because they're saying they're building massive gymnasiums and health spas and all these things to attract kids to go in. And then the kids get a loan from the government, right? They give it to the college. The college just builds more gymnasiums so they could attract more. There's free government money for them, right? So the price of education is skyrocketing because all this nonsense they spend on instead of the education. It's sort of like the for-profit universities do that. 90% of their money comes from from government money and from you getting a loan to give to them to go to their college or university, and they spend the least amount ever for any higher education on actually educating somebody. So almost nothing on education, and it all goes to marketing to get you, so that when you're on the internet, man, they find you, and they'll beat on you until they get money from you, because it won't cost you anything. You just have to get a loan from the government. Don't worry about it. And that's nuts. So how do these countries do it with, for free? And actually, see, because of that, I think the wisest thing is screw American colleges, go to Europe. And actually, it's now easier than ever to do that because you don't have to be a citizen of Europe. You could be a U.S. citizen or come from anywhere and go to one of these universities that charge. There's 40 countries that charge absolutely zero for college. Now the other ones, particularly in Europe, they'll charge maybe $1,000. And if you're not, a citizen of the European community, they may charge you $2,000. Man, that's a hell of a lot different than $40,000 or whatever the hell it is nowadays. You could spend a lot of airfare going back and forth to those countries. Why are we doing that? Because of some nonsense that's in our head. If you want an education, and these are the best universities in the world. They had them before we did. So why are we doing this? It's just crazy. And here's the important thing about, if you're thinking about higher education, even graduate school, or anything like that, they're in English now. See, all the European communities, countries are doing all their college courses in English. That's right. We have such an advantage over the world because we know English. The whole world, the rest of the world wants to speak English. Yeah. And we know it. We don't have to go to language training or anything like that. And so you can go to one of these universities as a U.S. citizen, and so you may have to pay double. So if you go like the best university in Paris, instead of spending $500 a semester, you spend $1,000 a semester. Wow. And it's all in English. Now, what is better than that? I mean, it's just crazy the way we live. But you get stuck in, it's hard to get a knock on the side of the head to see things differently because, you just do what everybody else does for some reason. You think that's important. Or whatever. And here's another thing that I think is why people don't have that $500 to buy, for an emergency, is who's getting all the money. Okay. Now this is debatable, I'm sure, whatever, but this is latest data that I've seen in an article in Commentary magazine. Recently, some good data. I'm a data guy. That's why you want to go to bigdata.lesko.com and you see why I like data. Okay. Here's average income. Okay, this is in inflation-adjusted prices, and look at the blue line there. Okay, now down on the bottom, you see where the shaded area is. Oh, I have to go backwards. Shaded area, that's where the recession started in 2007-8. See the income, the blue line? It was topped at $58,000. Okay, that was the average household income at the recession, $58,000. You see how it took a tank? Way down. Okay, now we're down here at the end of the recession, supposedly, and we're still only at $57,000. So we have not recovered. Everybody, household income is still below the past recession. And actually, if you look earlier, it went nowhere back in the year 2000. So you see, nobody, we can't even get back to the 2000. Oh, no, because it was 59,000. So even from 2000 to 2007, it went down from 59,000 to 58,000. And now we're only at 57,000. So average income is going down. So that's what, nobody has it. You think prices are going down? Nonsense. They're all going up, baby. And especially, what happened? I mean, what I see is the fat cats go in and they lobby. See, marketing for big companies now is better spent on lobbying than it is on, buying ads on on the internet, because they could get a law changed and make you give them money to buy their product, because the government will give you money to buy product or whatever. So that's why they spend their marketing dollars are spent on lobbying now versus advertising, because it's a better payoff for them. But that's it. So the average household income has really gone down since 2000. And actually it's been steady for about 30, 40 years. Actually, a 30-year-old white male, or actually a 30-year-old male, now makes about 20% less than when I was 30 years old, and that was back in the 70s. So, that sounds un-American, but that's reality. Who the hell cares? You have to deal with this stuff and do something. So the income went down, right, for families. So did our country do bad? Is that why? Well, no, our country grew. Here's the little bump down here where we had the recession. See, the red line is the growth of our country. So that's the GDP, gross domestic product. So that's how much stuff we make. How much stuff are we making? Like how much income are you making? How much everybody's making? So we had a downturn there, but then it started going up again. Now the line on top shows you what it would be if it continued at the same rate from the year 2000, but it didn't. It stopped and then went down, but it still went up. It went up about 11%, in that time period since the recession till now. So you have the whole country is growing, right? But you're not. You're shrinking, right? So what the hell's going on? So the average household, and this is the median. The median is not the average. The median is the guy in the middle. Because if you put the average, that means, the famous story explaining the difference between average and median is the average. You put 10 guys in a row and you add up their salaries and you divide by 10, right? But if Bill Gates is there in the 10 guys, that's going to be a hell of a lot higher average than what the average of the people making the money. You know what I mean? I haven't explained this before, so I'm not sure I'm doing a good job. But the median is like, what is the 5.5 person or the 5 person making? What's his average? So as many in front of him, as many behind him. So what is that? And that's what that number is. So that's why that's important to know, because here's what's going on, I feel, in our country. This is the graph from that same article in Commentary Magazine. It shows household wealth. Look at that. Here's the recession again. Back in here. Household wealth is skyrocketing. What is wealth? That's stuff. That means stuff that you have. That means your stock market value. That means the real estate you own. That's all that. Who has that? I don't think it's the average person, right? It's mostly fat cats, right? So look they're taking. It's a lot more than the growth that we had, right? So it's coming from somebody. Right? If the average income isn't looking like this, that means somebody's getting more than their fair share. I don't know what fair is, so that's a debatable question too. But I think that's important, because that's what's going on, I feel. We all hear about the spread in income and the inequality, and I think that's the most important aspect of our country right now, because it's dampening enthusiasm. It's dampening creativity. Why would I want to work like hell for somebody if the owner's going to get everything and I'm getting bupkis? My wage hasn't gone up in I don't know how long, But the owner's making his butt off, right? He's making all the money. So the country as a whole is generating a lot more income every year, but it's obviously not going to the average wage owner. And I think that's the big difference in our society, and that's why and it's happening under both administrations. I mean, this isn't all Trump; it's everybody. It's the leaders of both parties doing this and getting caught up in that nonsense. And so, what's going on? I mean, I don't know for sure. I'm guessing. I'm just trying to look at the data and get some perspective on it. Yeah, and what I think is important, the fact that we're not excited about working, the fact that we're not excited about contributing to society. That's it. I mean, look at it. Now it's showing up in the unemployment data. It's so funny. I used to think that Donald Trump used to say something, oh, the real unemployment rate is not 4.9% or whatever. And he would say something outrageous, like 20% or 30%, which I never heard in my life. But if you look at this data, here, this is employment population for people 20 and plus. So back here in 2000, we had 66% of the people 20 years old or more in the labor force. Now we're down to 62%. So people aren't going into the labor force. Wow. I mean, that is an incredible thing. So why aren't they going? I mean, you can list 1,000 reasons. But if you don't feel you're contributing, I feel, and if you don't think you're getting your fair share of the pie, I mean, the way I feel, I say, screw you. I'm not going to help you make money, and I get nothing. Why the hell? I mean, this sounds like a zero-sum game to me. Sure, you're going to give me a wage, and if I make you more money, you make me some. But it looks like you're getting a disproportional share of the income. That's what and I think that's why Trump was elected, because this is it. People are seeing that. They're going nowhere. But the Am I back? Stop there for a minute. But the guys he's bringing in, they all seem like big fat cat money people. They're in Washington to get a bigger piece of the pie. And that's the issue, I think. And that's my opinion on it. So I'd love to hear your opinion, whatever you think. You got some bad sirens there in Bethesda. Yeah, oh, you heard those sirens? That's pretty good. A lot of crooks here too. Or maybe it's sick people. But okay, let's go back to why you can't afford, the $500. Remember that I have a little download video ebook about that issue on how to find stuff on the internet that you can't find on using Google. So if you go to leskotutor.com, and look at my ebooks there, and it's like $5, $9, I think, or something like that for that. And let me write that. I don't know if I put this in. Let's go to. But they're really, I show you what you need to do to find these things. And they're not really the normal things you'll find. I mean, there's a couple of them like 211. That's a favorite thing of mine. You need help. You need dental care. You need to fix up, your roof. It's leaking and it's summer or winter or rainy season. You need that kind of money and you don't have it. You could contact that. Your county government has so many programs like that too. Remember that, and you won't find that when you use Google, So contact your county government. Go to your elected official even. They'll find it because they're in jobs to do this. I mean, they help you do this kind of stuff. And people forget that even though you're not a fat cat, your elected official will do that research for you and find out a government office to help you, And that's what they're there for. And then plus, I think there's so much going on the internet. Easier ways to make money now than ever before. That's right. I mean, with the shared economy is now, screw the fat cats. I mean, sure, it may not replace a decent salary, but it's going to replace at least living expenses money, and that's what you need. And also it makes it flexible, so you can do this on the side while you're making extra money in a current job, or while you go back to school to learn something that will be more sellable to the community, and you'll make more money afterwards. And that's why I got a new ebook on that. This is Custom I Do, and it's 299 free sources of money and help from the government or on the internet or whatever. And these are 299 websites for where you live. I do custom research right for your community. Now, if you believe in that, you can start to figure out how to do it yourself. But I'll do it too if you want. But the most important thing is that you believe there's options out there, and you're going to put in the work or whatever it is necessary to do that. If you just take accepted opinion about everything, and this is the way to do something, this is the only option, man, you can't live like that anymore, because number one, there's just too many new options now, and number three, two, I don't even know how to count. Number two is that, the things we found out that worked yesterday won't work anymore. We can't solve today's problems with yesterday's answers. And that's what we keep doing. Now you can get a degree from a wonderful university for free by going to Europe or paying a fraction of that. Or right here, they're popping up too for free. You look at University of the People, and that's accredited, it's wonderful, the people are very legitimate people. Don't go to these for-profit universities, and I just saw in the paper, man, their stocks are going wild. You know why? Because they're taking away the regulations where they had to prove that their customers, their students, were getting better jobs. So Trump, the new guys in town, the new sheriff, is going to get rid of that, and so their stock is going crazy. I thought they'd be out of business by now because it's such a, I think a terrible investment of your time and your money. And there's better alternatives. Start by checking your local community college. They have programs not only that are a fraction of what they would cost, but they all have short-term programs for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months for you to get a skill and get a decent job. Check with your one-stop labor information center, career center, one-stop career center for where you live. They have money to go to a training school for free, or even to pay 1 year at the university. That's what you need. Or even money to live on while you start a business. See? But you don't know about that stuff. You know about that for-profit university because they're spending every nickel they get from the government advertising so they can get you and sweet-talk you into a degree. Well, I see. I've been babbling here for a long time. Okay, so yeah, if you want something more about what I said, let me know. If you think I'm nuts, let me know. I'm interested in hearing where I'm wrong. No, I'm not right about anything. Man, I've written 100 books and only 10 made money. And that's something I do. I think about that stuff every minute of my life. What do people need? How do I do it? Whatever. And I'm wrong 90% of the time. So that's what I think life is now. Accepting errors and that you are going to fail most of the time. But finding something that's important to keep going. Because that's what life is. That's the new reality. So you can't go and just punch tickets like everybody said. You just punch these 3 tickets and you'll be a zillionaire. You'll have just spent a lot of money. That's what you've done.